Hi everyone, it's Lordad here. Everyone wanted another Ask Me Anything, and I think now that I've hit 5,000 subscribers, I think it's a great idea. Yeah, I'm just really gonna take my time with this one. Let's get into it. Likgas, I have no idea. MacArthurball asks, what's your favorite Hearts of Iron 4 mod? Obviously, Aftershocks of the Revolutions Redux, but it's currently in development. So my favorite Hearts of Iron 4 mod, it used to actually be the New Order for a while, but I played Kaiserreich again after 1.0 came out, and I was pretty impressed. It's been a while since I really played mods. I actually really like Vanilla. Vanilla, the design of it is always really entertaining. They've balanced World War II pretty well, and just the dynamics there are pretty good. The alternate history paths in Vanilla aren't always really that good for game balance, so it's not really fun playing one of those. Yeah, I would just say Kaiserreich because of how fleshed out the lore is and the gameplay is pretty good. Or I think of indie gaming. I'm pretty sure he means like indie developers and independent gaming development. I really like indie developers because they game design new complete things that are really risky. And because it's usually like one person or a small team, you get to really have this cohesive single artistic piece. I really like Amori. I like Undertale. All these really important games that have been coming out to push the medium have been coming out of single developers. Stardew Valley. There's something to be said about how much work it takes to make a game all by yourself. So I have a lot of respect for independent game developers. I used to be a game designer, and it was pretty fun. Also not so fun because I was working on mobile games. I find mobile games to be really exploitive. So I have a lot of respect for indie games, which are supposed to be for the art of games, because games are art, even if they aren't art in the typical fashion. Enzo Rafa, one of my first channel members, so thank you for your participation. What channels inspired me to start doing alternate history content? When I saw Possible History's videos and how quickly his YouTube channel was growing, I realized that there could be a potential for this sort of market to be tapped into more. So I would say he inspired me to get started. What are my favorite games? Crusader Kings 3, Europa Universalis 4, Victoria 2, and Hearts of Iron 4. I'm just a really big fan of Paradox games. When Imperative Rome was trying to push to be popular again, I tried it out. I'm currently running a campaign as Rome, not doing very well. It's interesting. It has me excited to see what Johan has in store for us for EU5. I have 5,000 hours in EU4. I would even go as far as to say that EU4 really defined my life and changed me and saved me. Johann's the lead game designer for EU4, or was, and I saw him at ParadoxCon 2018, and I got to tell him thank you. Even if he was in the middle of going from one place to another and barely acknowledged me, I still got to thank him for his work, so I'm glad I got to be able to do that. But before I started getting into map games, it was Civilization. Don't really play Civilization anymore, but I really liked this online game called Mabinogi. It's actually pronounced Mabinogi, but I just say G. Yeah, I doubt that anybody is actually knowing of Mabinogi. If you do actually know Mabinogi, comment on this video. We can talk about it. Do I plan on adding more content for channel members? I do want to add more to my membership. I am just really busy right now with a bunch of other stuff. I can't really add more to it. I would really like to. I have some ideas, but it requires a lot of community. So I guess one of the things I'm trying to do is build up the community so that I can get some more support to do the more complicated things. So, like, comment, subscribe so that we can boost our community. But I am really proud of the community that we have. There were some YouTube videos that I made as like a hobby. I never posted them on the internet, and including my first episode of Aftershocks: The Revolutions Redux. It was kind of like so bad I will not post it, not even on my second channel. So I might put that behind a paywall just because it's like I like, if you really want to see it, you can, but I actually don't really want you to see it. But I think it might be nice for channel members to see like where I started in terms of quality, so that they can get a better idea of how far you can go. I'm pretty proud of the content that I've made, especially Project Stressa. So yeah, thanks again for your support, Enzo. Talius Valius, what mod for any Paradox game do you hate the most for drama purposes? That's a good question. For drama purposes, I will say The New Order. I really liked the direction of a narrative-based, really dystopic world where the world is so fucked up that the Mediterranean is drying out. I liked how edgy the Burgundy content was. I liked how characters were characters and not true to life historical people. I really enjoyed that concept, and I haven't played it since they removed Atlantropa, but yeah, I just found it really disappointing. The Hadric path that they're going to be editing and reworking was probably one of my favorite experiences in Hearts of Iron 4. The combination of narrative, the gameplay, everything about it was so amazing. I'm thinking about even making a video essay about how good that was. If that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. Which do you think will be better, Stressa or Bourbon? The way that Bourbon's been developing is actually really fun. I think that when it comes to Bourbon, it's a lot more of a power fantasy story, and you can't really get around that considering the fact that I'm writing about Napoleon, the greatest military commander to ever live. Well, I don't know the exact specifics. Maybe Alexander did better, but the prowess that he had, the only way that they were able to defeat Napoleon is literally by not fighting him. Like, that's pretty substantial. And it's been fun. It's been kind of easy to write it because Napoleon just wins most of the time, right? So it's pretty easy to do. But I think that doesn't make as good of a story. I've been trying to incorporate elements to make it more entertaining, but I think Stressa will always be just something magical about it. Every time, I thought Stressa was going to be 3 episodes long, and it ended up being 15. Like, there's something really compelling about that scenario. I'm not sure how many episodes Bourbon will have. Right now it's looking at around 7 or 8. It helps that I'm focusing only on Europe and their colonies to be able to like really tell that story. But I'm hoping to go into more detail about how the rest of the world would look when we come to it. Probably in an epilogue or something. Where did I hide the bodies? I will never tell you. You will never find them. Cow, I love that name. Cow asks, how long does it take to make the maps? It actually takes quite a bit of time. The thing about the maps is that I sort of just get in a mood one day and then I really work at it really hard, and then I have most of the assets that I need. My method of making maps is so refined at this point that I'm able to do things that took me a long time to do in the past pretty quickly. Most of my map work is actually making new patches, I call them, over top of the big map that I use, just because like the writing dictates it, and I didn't predict that I'll need that sort of asset. So it's kind of hard to say how long it takes to make the map. But when it comes to like the maps period, it can take some time. when we were developing Aftershocks of the Revolution's lore, we made a Photoshop document with folders that dictated each era of history. And it's a real big pain in the ass to maintain whenever there's a lore change, because you need to change like 8 different maps. But it's worth it because it keeps things cohesive and it makes it pretty easy to develop nations. So that one took a long time, but yeah. What's your experience with Hearts of Iron 4 modding? I mentioned this, I think, in my last AMA. I was like an ideas guy, basically. I opened the game maybe 1 or 2 times and actually pushed a couple things, and that's nice. I know how to make focus trees, at least the skeletons. Like, I could probably learn how to mod Hearts of Iron 4 if I really tried. I actually made an EU4 mod. That was pretty fun, given how much I understood about the game. It was pretty easy for me to do, but yeah, like not to the point where it's that much. I have a lot of modding friends. Shout out to Jubs. Shout out to MacArthurBall. They're able to make some pretty cool stuff for Aftershocks of the Revolutions. I'm looking forward to showing you what we've made. But yeah, will I come to Brazil? I want to travel more in general. It's just kind of hard when we have a newborn. But maybe I'm just too scared to be running around with my family. It is pretty difficult though. But in the future, yeah, I would love to see more of the world. When I was younger, I got to see all of these places that meant nothing to me. But after I learned more about history, I wish I could go back and see everything and learn everything. But yeah, I want to travel more. And Brazil is a pretty interesting place. I want to go there, yeah. What's your favorite Hearts of Iron 4 nation to play? Germany. I used to play a lot of Germany and go the historical route, but it gets to the point where it's just too easy, because you know how to play it well enough, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, something you can do with your brain off. Poland is really fun. I had a really fun Poland game recently. But I usually find myself having the most fun playing Italy, even if I can't really keep up. It's fun playing a support role, but still have a really good geopolitical position, and the focus tree is really well done. So yeah, I'd say Italy. Do I have any more alternate history ideas that I want to make a video on? Yeah, almost too many. That's the thing. It's like nice that I have so many different ideas. The projects that I have in mind, though, I remember making a pretty big number in my last AMA. I'm just going to check my wrong one. Check my internet here. There's Stressa, there's Bourbon, there's German October, there's lore videos I want to do for mods like Kulturkrieg, Fuhrer Redux, which I'm just going to call Fuhrer Fan Mod, basically. I want to do some lore about some dead mods like Boza, Kalas Polska, and Kampf gegen Barbarei. There are a lot of mods that I've worked on in the past that I want to give more of a highlight and make sure that all that work I put into developing the lore there doesn't go to waste. So yeah, several different ones I really want to go into. What nation do you think has the best history? I mean, it's interesting because nations don't really have history. It's the people who live in the areas which are controlled by nations. It's kind of hard to really put it that way. Maybe it's really wacky to say something like that. So it's really hard to say. Like, I like learning about Canadian history and not just the settler history. I like learning about the cultures of the different people that live in the region known as Canada, but it's an arbitrary line put in the sand. Like, you can learn more about all these other peoples and like even the religious exiles that were sent away from Europe and then forced into America. There's all these really interesting things. I like After the End for that. They show a lot of different religions and cultures that are there in real life and you learn all about. So yeah, it's kind of a question I can't really answer. But I do think that Roman history is overrated, and it's not really related to Italy. What's your favorite alternate history or history YouTuber? Lore Dad. I think he's pretty good. His content, I don't know, you could probably be doing better visuals than what he does, but he gets the point across well enough, and he seems like a good guy. His kid's pretty cute, so yeah, I'd say Lore Dad. But really, I'm not sure. It's so hard because everybody has their own things that they bring to the table. Like rewriting history, and his background of being a Bulgarian gives him a lot of insight into the Balkans and from a Balkan point of view. Possible History is interesting in the way that they make their own videos. Alternate History Hub, I feel like he never really misses, so I'd probably pick Alternate History Hub. Waffles or oh, fucking spicy. He asked similar questions like this last time. Waffles or pancakes? I can't have either because I'm not eating gluten. I guess like gluten-free pancakes are pretty good. At least the keto ones I've been having. Honey or maple syrup? Honey, because you can get Manuka honey and that's healthier for you. Burgers or burgers of hot dogs? I mean, I don't know if I'd make a burger out of a hot dog. I like burgers with ground meat because, you know, ground beef has a lot of animal fat and that's good for you too. Chinese or Italian food? This is actually a pretty good question. I would say Italian though. I definitely learned to like Chinese food, but then there's a lot of sugar in it. Like I can't really just get Chinese food anymore. But then Italian food's full of gluten. I don't know. Like fuck you guys. I'm on keto, which means that I can't have anything high in carb. It's like low carb, but way more strict. So this is just making my mouth water. But the only thing I can actually eat out of any of these things reliably is burgers with the lettuce wrap. So yeah, just burgers over top of everything else. What was your favorite or most chaotic part of the NRP for you? I can't remember what it was. I might have voided it from my memory, but I had to seriously fight some people about some really weird shit. I think it had to do with the Estonian-Scandinavian war with Cato, and then the Volksbund tried to make them ADN aligned, but then they took that as them trying to get cooped. So then the fighting Cato, fucking Estonia, decided I'm going to join Cato instead. The whole NRP is really chaotic. I've been wanting to make a video on it, but it's so hard to go through. I had some real big real life stuff happening at the time so I couldn't really monitor it. But man, that was a really interesting dynamic. Yeah. Do you have any other plans for content or just history based? Well, I actually do have a lot of like video essays completely unrelated to alternate history that have been stuck in my head for a while. I might upload them to the second channel. It's just really hard to find the motivation to work on it when I could be expanding my brand and improving my portfolio of all my alternate history stuff. So if you want to hear more about, you know, me, which I guess you do, given the fact that I'm doing another AMA, just let me know and I will consider doing some more content, give ideas and comments. I'd appreciate that. What's your favorite alternate history mod that isn't one you've taught already in a video? That's a good question. I would say After the End. After the End is really interesting. The only thing that I don't like about After the End is how many religions it has. It's good that there's so many religions because you get to have a lot more different gameplay experiences. But when it comes to simulating them in the North American continent, you kind of need religious homogenization. Like, the Catholic Pope is only powerful if there's a lot of Catholics, right? Like, it'd be nice to see a mod that like takes all the religions, keeps them, but then makes the bigger religions more widespread. So you still have like local heresies and you could revive some religions, but then there's a lot more dynamics there. That's something I'd like to see. The founding fathers being worshipped like Greek gods is so cool. I love that part about it. And then you can reform the United States of America like the Roman Empire. It's just so cool. What's your biggest pet peeve in the alternate history community? My biggest pet peeve is when people ask questions like, what if this happened? And then the protagonist character, the nation, has the biggest plot armor in the world and just dominates the world. And then that's the end of the video. It's like, what if Poland decided to do this one little thing differently and then Poland owns the world? It's really frustrating. And what I find frustrating about it most is that it's just kind of lazy. Like, you're taking something that happened and then just making them win from every point on. It isn't really that compelling. There are so many interesting things that can happen with just simple, minor points of divergence. If I had to change one thing about Project Stressa, what would it be? You know, I've had a lot of comments explaining that Japan bombing Pearl Harbor is pretty implausible, and I do agree. It is pretty implausible. I wish that when I made Project Stressa, I found a way to involve America in the war against the Allies in a better way than that. But at the same time, even if it was not really plausible for Japan to attack America, it still made a lot of sense in my mind. And because of it, it made a really interesting scenario. So I would probably go with changing that. What are your top 3 favorite franchises? Oh, that's a good question. I used to really like Star Wars, but I didn't like the latest modern trilogy that much. So I wouldn't put Star Wars up there. Problem is, like, franchises, like, I don't really consume media that much anymore. I don't even really play games anymore. Like, well, not anymore. Like, I play maybe an hour a day. It's a lot less compared to how much I used to. I've been really enjoying watching Invincible with my wife. That's been pretty fun. I guess I could say, like, anime. I was a big anime guy. I like Steins Gate a lot. Gurren Lagann, and Unlimited Blade Works. I really like that anime too. So there you go. There's your franchises from my anime era. Who did I vote for in the U.S. elections? Joe Biden is not my president because I am not American. Am I Christian or religious? I used to be Christian, and then I used to be atheist, and now I'm agnostic. So I went from one extreme to another extreme to, I don't know. You can't really know. I value Christianity and their, like, focus on, like, not persecuting an entire group for the actions of one person. Just kind of like the huge moral of the story about Jesus' sacrifice, I like that, but I wouldn't say that I'm a Christian. There's a lot of baggage that comes with the whole Christian thing. I don't like to associate myself with that. Like, we only know what we know. Just try to be good people. It doesn't need to be a religious thing. What is my least favorite fast food restaurant? I'd say McDonald's. I haven't had them in years. Just the blandness of it is just really disgusting to me. I actually like A&W a lot. I don't know what it is. It's the flavors mostly, I think. My wife doesn't like A&W though. She likes Wendy's, so it's a debate. Not that I can really have that anymore anyway. It's my favorite football club. I'm not a sportsman, just period. Don't even like my local football team, so yeah, no. Most important historically point to world history. Like, what's the most important historical point to history? I would say the French Revolution. Just everything really goes back to the French Revolution in one way or another. What's my favorite aspect of alternate history? The thing I like about alternate history is that it explores what didn't happen, but that is a really good explanation for why things did happen the way they did. Like, when you take a point of divergence, you follow an assumption, and then you start to realize the certain alignments of certain nations and like what the consequences of those decisions would have been. It makes sense why people didn't do what they did and instead let things happen the way they did. It's not something I can really put my finger on exactly how that sort of situation would appear. But a good example will show up when I show German October. I'm planning a pilot episode soon, so I hope you look forward to that. Do I know how to program Hearts of Iron 4 mods? Or is it programmed by a separate team and I just come up with the lore and gameplay elements? Well, I would like to first clear up, while I was a big part of the Aftershocks of the Revolutions Redux's lore development, it was very much a team effort with a couple of my friends. And since it's gone to public and we've been adding more people to the development team, they've given really good feedback on our scenario and made something really good. So I don't want to take any like full credit for the lore of mods. And as Caesarreich, the mod, it's definitely taken a heart of its own. It's been taken over by some Furorite developers who have a lot of really good ideas. I'm looking forward to seeing what they make of it, but it's nothing to do with really what my original video was about. For better and worse, I really like my scenario, but better because the stuff that they're coming up with is pretty great. So, I wouldn't want to claim that I determined the lore and everything fell in afterwards. Like that I can do that with videos because it's my video. But if it's a group project, I can't dictate what people do, especially if I'm not hiring them. It's a volunteer environment. And if you don't want to participate in what the leader is deciding, then you don't have anything. So yeah, I don't really have much programming experience, but like I said before, I did make an EU4 mod. What is the most underrated historical period? The Interwar. When I learned about how much shit happened in the Interwar, holy shit, it blew my mind. The Soviet-Polish War, the very good Lord Dad, that's all you have. Just the way that the politics in every nation following the interwar and the lost generation and the Great Depression, there's so much you can do. Like there's a lot of people have been making Hearts of Iron 4 mods with the point of divergence being way back. And then they have like nothing really to stand on. You could make a really good Hearts of Iron 4 mod with the divergence in like 1919, like Project Stressa, I hope will one day be a mod. And that was just a minor tweak to an interwar thing, and it has crazy ramifications. So I'd say the interwar, like a lot of the conflicts that happen to this day are determined based off of some decisions made then. So what do you think is the best medium to tell an alternate history? Text, visual, news broadcast, blah blah blah, visual. Well, here's the thing, like every story has its own way. Like when you have a book and the book is really good and then you try to adapt it to a screenplay, there are certain elements of a screenplay that can't really show what the book is. You can tell the reader what the character is thinking in the moment as an internal dialogue. You have to do that with a voiceover in a screenplay, and that requires the visuals to appear on screen while it's happening. It isn't necessarily really that great. And then there's videos like the typical, what if this happened? Let's explore it. I'm the guy, and this is what I think would happen. This crazy nation would happen, and they'd be called this, and they would do this. Wow, but I'm not going to continue talking about this because that would be too hard. Like, comment, subscribe. That kind of video, like that's what people are used to, but I think I've really found a really cool way to elaborate on alternate history in a way that is fun. Focus more on the narrative, tell an interesting story. It doesn't have to be a book, even though I have been considering doing a book. Yeah, so I don't know. I really like videos because you can show the maps, you can show other things. Videos are pretty nice. I can't really imagine watching a alternate history TV show because it would just be written by a screenwriter, and the screenwriter would be like, "Oh well, there needs to be a plot and there needs to be characters." And I don't want, like, I'm saying that I am taking a screenwriting course, but it's not so interesting to the alternate history aspects that I think we all enjoy. So, yeah, I think the sort of format that's been established by YouTubers has been pretty good for alternate history. How do we avoid political bias in alternate history, or at least detect whether or not political bias is empathized in someone's alternate history story? Well, you can never avoid political bias because your experience, your lived experience, determines your interaction with the world and how you perceive it. You could have the exact same line of facts and give it to two different people, and they'd give you a different narrative based off of those facts. And that's not anybody's fault. That's how we're designed as humans. So it's like impossible to avoid political bias. The way that I try to avoid political bias is that I try to empathize with each position, each nation I can put myself in the shoes of, and try to decide, like, why would they be doing what they're doing? And think about it not in a way of like my own personal political biases, but that even then, like, that's only a slight mediation to the issue. You can't really fix it. You're just always gonna have it. Do you think alternate history is beneficial to society as a way of promoting factual history or real life politics by explaining how a single change can drastically change something else? Yes, but the problem is that if you take the alternate history kind of like the way that I've made narratives and then have it presented in such a way, people can just forget that it's alternate. So you need to really just go like, oh, if this happened, then this may have happened. But the problem is it might not have actually happened the way that you're assuming. So it's your own personal bias impacting your interpretation of the facts and your own understanding of the history based off of the best knowledge of the time, which may change and all this stuff. So yeah, it's a good thought experiment, and it can provide an interesting insight into history. It wouldn't be a replacement to teaching history. It'd be like a supplement. It'd be like, this potentially could have happened. It would give another point of view, another way of approaching it, which is really valuable. But I wouldn't say it's like a better way. Favorite alternate history scenario you've ever thought about? Includes literally every scenario you've ever made, thought of, all this stuff. Fuck, I don't know. These are good questions, but it's really hard to think of. I played a Crusader Kings 2 game, and in that game, I started as the Hungarians in the earliest start date. When I was playing the game as usual, I noticed that Carloman, Charlemagne's brother, had managed to kill him and become Emperor of Francia. But the craziest fucking thing was that he married a Muslim. Like, he went on some pilgrimage and then had an event that spawned a lover of a foreign faith, adopted her faith, and then converted the entirety of France. So not just France, Germany as well, to Islam. And I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. I settled in Poland, and then I became a vassal. I adopted Islam. And then I was like, I need to play this game to the end. I played the game to the end, and the Aztec invasion was turned on, so they occupied a lot of territory. The Umayyads took over in Iberia, but then they were displaced by the Aztecs, and the Aztecs started to take over France too. So I declared independence. So I was a French written language, Hungarian speaking, Arabic religious text, Polish, Eastern Empire. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And then the British Isles stayed Catholic, and they somehow managed to start reconquering Germany and France. And Islam used to be so huge in Europe, and now the Catholics are taking it back. The Holy Roman Empire formed in just Italy in like the 1300s. It was the craziest Crusader Kings 2 game I've ever had, one of the best experiences. And I would love to, like, I don't know, somehow find a way to continue simulating that, because that was so cool. I would say that would be my favorite alternate history scenario. What if the grandfather of Europe's brother decided to adopt Islam? And this is quite the what if scenario there, huh? Why am I named Lordad? Well, I am a dad. I have a wife, I have kids, I have cats. Yeah, I'm a dad. So just like the way I'm raising my kids, I don't dictate what they're going to be. I take what the point of divergence is for what it is, and then I let it grow up into what it's supposed to be. And that isn't necessarily what I want it to be. So I think that the Lord Dad name doesn't just have to do with the fact that I'm also a dad. It explains my philosophy regarding alternate history. So I think that's why I decided to pick Lord Dad. Anyway, that's the AMA. I'm getting restless sitting here talking to myself for hours. I don't have any fatherly advice today. Have a good day.